Hello, my nerdlings. If you're new here, my name is Nikki. Welcome to my channel where we get nerdy. Today, we're going to do our January wrap up. It is only the 28th of January, but I know I'm not going to be reading the next couple days because I have done plenty this month already. Sorry for the terrible lighting. It is like 5:30 in the morning, and I have my laptop here so that I can go through my spreadsheet to make sure I don't forget any books. I didn't feel like pulling them all and holding them up, so I'll insert an image here. But we already completed a reading goal for 2024, and that was finish a series. I started and finished a series in the month of January. Let's look at monthly stats first. In the month of January, I read 12 books. Well, 11 and a half because I haven't finished Legends and Lattes, but we all know that's because of the buddy read with Alicia. I don't want to read a bunch of it and then not be on the not have the have the plot and points and everything for me fresh in my mind when me and her hang out and talk about it. I read 2,916 pages and listened to 47 hours of audiobook. All right. Genres. We have 2 contemporary, 3 fantasy, 2 nonfiction, 3 romance, and 1 other. 1 graphic novel, 2 manga, and 8 novels. There were 2 audiobooks, 2 ebooks, 3 physical books, and I immersive read 4 books. So the books I read, first I read Cells at Work Code Black by Shigemitsu Harada, maybe. This was 158 pages. I rated it 4 star. Cells at Work is a great, it makes my biology science teacher heart so happy. It is a great little story. There's not much high stakes, and it's so fun to read. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad that I got as many copies of the series as I did for Christmas. This, because of it being Code Black, this is definitely adult. There was some nude cells. I know it sounds weird, but like the cells are like the shape of human bodies. So when I say there was nude cells, like there were nude women. But I definitely recommend it. It was so great. I read this for BookTube, Tabrinko. It was my Yuto prompt, Japanese translated. But I also read it for Bookemon. Read a happy book. It makes me happy to read it. So, next book after that, I read A Man and His Cat, Volume 3 by Umi Sakurai. This was 148 pages, rated at 4 star. Contemporary slice of life. It's a story about a man and his cat that he adopted, and it's adorable. I read this for Tabrinko for Pet on the Cover, and for Bookemon, read a book with a cat. I know I haven't really talked about Bookemon on the channel yet. I'll make sure to link Merb's stuff below so you can check it out. After that, I read Blade of Secrets by Tricia Levenseller. This was 322 pages, and I listened to 6 hours of the audiobook. I didn't listen to the whole audiobook, but I did listen to part of the audiobook. I rated this 4.5 stars. Tricia Levenseller doesn't let me down. I don't have to think hard when I read her books. I can just enjoy them, digest them, and it'd be totally fine. This is the first book in a new series for me, so that's great. Starting out new series, even though I don't finish them. It doesn't explicitly say if there's diverse rep, but there is we'll say neurodiverse rep. Our main character has extreme social anxiety, like extreme anxiety. I read this for Black/Fire on the cover for Tabrinco, but also read an ebook or audiobook for Bookimon, which I honestly probably should change that to one of my other books that I actually read a lot of the book through audio. Next is We Were Dreamers by Simu Liu. This was 285 pages. I listened to it immersively with 3 hours. Like, it is a short audiobook, but it was really nice because he read you his story. So it was like he was having a conversation with you. I really enjoyed that. 5 stars. I definitely recommend, if you have a memoir to listen to, make sure it's the person reading it. This one I read for Jarpick, and for Bookimon, read a nonfiction. Next, we have Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This was our Tabrinco prompt of a Instagram rec, and to read a popular book for Bookimon. I know this is all over TikTok and all that stuff. This is book 1 of the Maple Hills series. It's a contemporary romance, and I will tell you, I DNF'd it. I listened to about 2 hours of the audiobook and DNF'd it. I wanted to DNF it after the first 10 pages, but I figured I'd give myself enough, like, to say that I gave it a full college try. It was not for me. Maybe just the time, like the mood I was in, maybe it wasn't. I'll try again later. But yep, DNF'd it. We have Lost Trail by Dawn Fendler. If you grew up in Maine, at some point in your life, you read a book called Lost on a Mountain in Maine. Well, this is the graphic novel adaptation of it. It's my son's book. I wanted something super quick, super simple, fun, like a familiar story to read. I did read it for Bookimon. This was 5 stars for me. Read a book under 100 pages. So you can tell it's short. It's 70 pages. It's a story about, I want to say he's either 9, 10, 11, or 12. Like, he's that pre-teeny age. He's hiking Mount Katahdin with his father and brother, and he gets lost. A thick fog rolls in, and kid is lost in the Maine wilderness for like a week. And it's just his story about his survival out in the Maine woods by himself. So I know I read it in like 4th grade when I was younger. I think every single English teacher in the state of Maine uses it. I swear, every single one does. All right. I already said my bit on Legends and Lantes. Next, I have the biggest shocker of, I don't know, my booktube career. Like, I'm more shocked than when I enjoyed Empire of the Vampire. And that's Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I rated this 4.5 stars, not saying it didn't deserve a 5 star. She just did the one trope. That one teensy little trope I can't stand, and that's when you lie to somebody because you want to protect them. Don't lie. I hate it. I hate lying in real life. I hate lying in books. Just be fucking honest. This was 500 pages, and I listened to 10 hours of the audiobook immersively, mainly because I wanted to hear the banter with the dragons. Like, I wanted to hear that play out. This is a fantasy romance. Book 1 in the Empyrean series. There's person of color rep. Xaden, the male main character, is a person of color. It doesn't explicitly say what categorization of person of color. Just the author says, yeah, he's not white. And then Rhiannon, her, the Violet, the female main character's best friend, is a person of color. I believe she is the way she's described, I picture her as African descent. Whether that's true, I don't know, but that's just how I pictured her. In disability rep, we have some amazing disability rep that you don't normally see in books in this book. We have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. If you do not know what EDS is, it is a connective tissue disorder where it impacts your joints and other parts of your body. So there's a lot of, she talks about her shoulder popping out, her knees popping out, her joints being overall weak. And it's not her being a whiny heroine. It's she has a disability. And as a mom whose child's been tested for EDS, and my nibbling, which if you don't know, a nibbling is the gender neutral term for a niece or nephew relation, my nibbling is diagnosed with EDS. So to have this rep of a disorder that's not very well known, it made my heart happy. It's my husband's book. I went out and bought my own copy so that I can reread it and annotate it, if that tells you anything. There are some trigger warnings for, they're right at the front of the book too. This is an R-rated book. There is death on the page. There is gore. She does not hold any punches with that type of stuff. And there is on-page smut. You do read sex scenes on page. It's not closed door. It's not fade to black. It's there. You see all of it. You read all of it. Really well written, but it's there. So we got this for Random Tarot Generator, and we got the moon, which meant deception. And also for Pokemon, read a book with a reptile on the cover. So after that, I read Fourth Wing in a day. I started it on Friday at like 1 p.m, and I finished it by like 9 something the next night. Like, it was a little bit over 24 hours I read this book. Gave myself a break because I was on a bit of a book hangover. It's like, I don't know what to read next. Like, I don't want to read Iron Flame because book 3 we don't even have a release date for, blah blah blah. And I couldn't move on from it, so I picked up Iron Flame. And Iron Flame is book 2 in the Imperium series. Let me see. Iron Flame, it's 624 pages. I listened to 14 hours of the audiobook because I listened to it at 1.8 speed because that's how fast I follow along. So this was 5-star. So the second book did better than the first book, in my opinion. And I think it's because we built more on that magic system. We got more world building. There was some good character growth. Granted, there was a lot more spice scenes. She could have cut a couple of them out, but I'm not going to complain either, like, because she writes them really well. So yeah, again, POC rep, disability rep. There is also trans rep that I missed. There is a student that uses they, them pronouns that I missed. And I was watching a podcast and someone pointed it out. And I'm like, how did I miss that? So there's that. Of course, there's, trigger warnings for gore on the page, a whole lot of it. Assault, torture. Because at this point, they're like, you know how they take military people and others and they train them to endure an extent of torture so that if they are ever caught behind enemy lines, like, they won't give up secrets, like that type of thing. Like, there's that type of class in the school at this point. And so just be warned, there is that in here. So yeah. And I read this for Bookemon for finish a 400-page book in one day, which I did. I finished this book. I started it. It was Sunday night. Started around 6. And I finished it at 5, coming just under the wire at 5 the next day. It was Martin Luther King Day that I finished it because I'm like, tomorrow is Monday, but there's no school. So, and then the last 3 books I read were the series that I started and finished, and it was by Maya Banks. Rush, Fever, and Burn were the 3 books. Rush got 5-star, Fever got 3-star, and Burn got 5-star. So not that bad for a series. This is a romance series. It's a very erotic romance series. I had attempted to film a try a chapter challenge, and then my videos corrupted, which is great. But it was a try a chapter challenge where I read 4 books that my cousin recommended, and Rush, the first book, was one of them. And I started it, and I was intrigued. Got sucked into the story between Gabe and Mia. Absolutely loved it. Maya. Is it Maya's her name, or is it Mia? One or the other. Got sucked right into their story. Loved it. I said, all right, let's read the second one. It's her brother. His business partner, her brother. It's his love story. That one, it was all right. I enjoyed parts of the story. I enjoyed the smut. Some of it was predictable. Some of it wasn't, but it was still good. And then the last book was the third business partner of Gabe and Jace, Ash. And Ash's was complete opposite of what I was expecting. Kept me on the edge of my seat. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it actually made me text my husband while he was at work, this fucking book, because I was pissed off. Excuse my language if there's any little ears around. So I thoroughly enjoyed it to the point where I rated it high enough that I ordered the box set of the 3 books off Amazon, and it'll be here Wednesday. So there's that. That is my wrap up for the month of January. 12 books ish. We'll say 11 and a half because of the fact I'm not done Legends and Lattes. But yeah, that many books. I am so proud of myself. Anyways, like the video if you did. Comment down below if you've read any of these books and your feelings on them, or if you would like some more explanation of how I feel to see if you want to read them yourself. And hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more. Until next time, you are loved and you are valid.